Arizona basketball looks to move to 10-1 in the Big 12. A little bit of a BYU preview and Caleb Love. What is the latest?
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it Locked On Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day, your team every day. This show is brought to you today by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet $5, and if you win, get $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. All right. We're going to break down Arizona BYU. We're going to talk about the significance of this game. We're going to talk about a multitude of different things involving Caleb Love, Koa Peat, Carter Bryant in the NBA, and all of that. But the first thing I think we need to talk about is Caleb Love. So, Caleb Love, and we have said this, I've said this from day one, and I believe it, that Caleb Love is Arizona's upside. However good Caleb Love is how good Arizona can be. Now listen, the one thing that Arizona has done that I think has been very, very impressive this year that they didn't do last year is they've been able to win games with Caleb Love not playing well, and that is a big, big aspect to this, a huge aspect to this. Because last year that wasn't happening. Last year, if Caleb Love didn't play well, guess what? Arizona probably didn't win. It was that simple. This year, you've been able to kind of weather that storm when he was going through a funk. You had KJ Lewis playing well. You had Jaden Bradley playing well, who we're going to get to in a minute. You just had a lot of guys that were playing really, really good basketball at that point. Now, I think the thing that we need to talk about, though, is where is Arizona now with Caleb? Caleb's not going to be suspended, nor should Caleb be suspended because, honestly, Caleb didn't do anything. I didn't think Caleb did anything wrong. Listen, if a player headbutts you and you square up, so what? I mean, that's part of that's called self-preservation, my friends. That's called self-preservation, and that is part of moving on and just being. So again, I don't have any problem with that. I think the thing that I think really took a lot of people by surprise is that Caleb Love was then ejected. To me, those are not equivalent crimes, for lack of a better term. It's not even close to that. Now, the one thing about it that we do, I think, look at and have to know is that Arizona now is going to try to be 10-1 on the season, and you are going to need Caleb Love. We're going to get to BYU in a minute because BYU is is a good team, and that is a very, very tough place to play. But Caleb being there is obviously a really, really good thing. Another thing, too, that I think is really kind of bore out here is Arizona's perimeter is really, really good. I don't know what else to say, but Arizona's perimeter is good, and it's good kind of across the board. Caleb Love, obviously we know about Jaden Bradley and KJ Lewis. I want to talk about Jaden Bradley for a second. He's been really kind of he's just been the steady presence that Arizona has needed pretty much all season. And he's been the team MVP. There's no doubt about it. Not only has he been the team MVP, he's also been the dude that you watch him and you can tell that Tommy is in sync with him. He's a good player. He's super, super active, and he's just good overall. And that's something that I think that Arizona fans can take for granted at some points. You just know exactly what you're going to get, and that's something that I think is very, very enticing for Arizona fans. And then KJ Lewis, like I said, my only qualm with KJ Lewis, it's not the shooting, because again, some dudes just aren't shooters. I get it. But I don't really like when he just kind of dribbles the ball around the perimeter, because the dribble is loose. When he gets downhill and he attacks, he's good. I need him to do even more of that, because when he does more of that, then he's obviously very good at doing that. Need more of that, not less of that. Now, when it comes to Arizona and what they need now, you got to be able to, you just want to keep stringing wins together because, again, your next 2 games, you got Texas Tech coming to town. Texas Tech is a good team. And again, it's at McHale. I get all of that. But at the same time, though, this is also a team that you should be able, this is also a team that you can beat, but you can't look ahead. And I think the one thing that Arizona has done really, really good or really, really well this entire season has been basically being able to stop teams that take care of business, and Arizona's been able to do just that, and that has been a refreshing part of watching Arizona this year is kind of that aspect to it. But you got to take care of business, and BYU, you got some real issues here. First one we got to talk about is Igor Demin. Igor Demin is going to be a lottery pick. He's very, very good, obviously. But he's also not one of the dudes that you just look at and you're like, okay, he's just going to go for 25 points. That's just not who he is. He is a very, very good player. But again, he's also averaging 10 points and 6 assists per game. I would imagine that Jaden Bradley is going to get him. Demon is one of those players that he's a lot more based off of upside at this stage in that you look at him, he's 6'8". And there's just a variety of different things that you can do. But again, I think at the college level, Jaden Bradley's better. And not only is Jaden Bradley better, I think he's going to cause some problems for him. And I would love to see Arizona pick the pace up. I'd love to see in that last game. That was absolutely fantastic seeing Arizona pick the pace up, start pressing, start trapping. Because then once you get going, that's when Arizona is really, really good. And they've shown too that they're going to be able to do that. Now, BYU, you should be able to do that. I would certainly hope that they're going to do that. I think that's going to be a big part of what they're doing because, again, with BYU, you got one, you don't really have a ton of guys that you're going to be super scared. You got Dalen Hall, and then you're Dallin Hall, and then you got Igor Demin. Those are your assist guys, both taller guys. Arizona, I think, should be able to pressure them and force them into some turnovers. That's certainly what I'm hoping for anyways. Now, with when it comes to Arizona and how they got here, it's by taking it one game at a time. Because again, the Texas Tech game, that was a tough loss for Arizona, but we're also coming to find out that Texas Tech is really, really, really good. I mean, they just beat Houston, obviously, and I think this is a team that's probably going to be a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. It is a really good team. So there's no real problem with losing that game to Texas Tech. I mean, Texas Tech is a team that is they're good. But you got Tech coming to town. You got to be able, in my opinion, when you're in the Big 12, get a win by any means necessary, and that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm at with BYU. You've just got to be able to get that win. You get that win, you can move on, and you can be in a lot better shape. But 10-1 would be huge. Arizona at this stage right now, you've won 90% of your Big 12 games, and keep in mind that was a big question mark for a lot of people. They're like, once you hit the Big 12, you're going to be exposed. And so far, it's actually it's toughened Arizona up to a certain degree. Now, up front though, we're going to talk about this. You've got you don't have a ton of dynamic players. With BYU, they're solid. They're basically solid across the board. You got Keita, who gets 8 rebounds per game. He's active, but I also think with somebody like Tobe Awaka, Tobe Awaka should be able to be able to put together the numbers that Tobe Awaka does. He is just like I said, he's an animal out there, and he can continue to show it. Henry is another big game. Henry kind of went through that mid-season funk, and not only did he kind of go through a mid-season funk, or I don't know if it's a funk, but just kind of needed to be. He's on the scouting report now, and now that he's on the scouting report, it's up to that next move. What is that next move for him? And I think that is to be like, all right, you know what's coming, and now I got to get back there. I got to start dunking the ball. I got to do a lot of different things, and he's shown that he can do all of that. So again, that's a big part of what he is doing, and it's an exciting part because again, this team is totally different with Henry. When Henry plays really well, when Henry is moving up and down the court, Henry is a problem, and I need that to continue against BYU, and I think that it will continue against BYU because Henry has just kind of flipped that switch. Now, Henry's probably a year away from going off to the NBA, but at the same stage, he's also shown before the season. If we were to talk about that Henry was going to have this kind of year, I don't think that anybody would have believed it. I certainly wouldn't have. I'll put it to you like that. There's no doubt about that. Now, we're going to talk about then what that means, and we're going to talk about Carter Bryant and what Arizona needs from him moving forward as well. But first, FanDuel, my friends. Check it out, FanDuel. Here's the deal. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better place to play and win every single time at FanDuel Sportsbook. Okay, here's the deal. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, this is the place. Again, you can bet throughout the game. You can bet before the game. I mean, again, you're going to want to be involved in this, and it's a fun part. Again, it's more enjoyable when you've got a little bit of skin in the game. And when you got a little bit of skin in the game, again, like I said, it makes it more enjoyable. Get a little bit of money in there as well. Okay, download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about where we're at now when it comes to what to do going forward with the bigs. You got to play Carter more. Period. I don't know how else to put this. You have got to play Carter Bryant more. He is listen, there are some drawbacks. I get it. Carter's kind of a hacker. Carter will go out there and Carter will do some things that don't make a ton of sense. But Carter's also very young. You watch him, though, and that shot is pure. That shot is really, really good. Not only is that shot really, really good, he's also the kind of player, too, that he's continuing to get better, and he's not only does he continue to get better, he is somebody that you can tell he's probably going to be going to the NBA after this year. I would love to be wrong on that. But he's just a little bit different. He's just different. That's just the way it is, and the way he can move, the way that he blocks shots, his timing, factor in as well that he's a really good kid, and it makes perfect sense that the NBA is going to be all over him. Again, he's far from flawless, though, obviously, and I would love for him to come back for another year. I think that would be great for everybody, but who knows? He's got to play more, though. Where I'm at the stage 2, I'm hopeful that last game with Trey Townsend, I'm hopeful that game was basically the one where you're like, okay, you just can't keep playing him 25 minutes per game. He needs to be able. Trey Townsend needs to sit, quite frankly. That performance against ASU, where he basically was not even trying at times, that was awful. And teams know it too. Teams know it. I mean, when you've got somebody that doesn't rebound, doesn't get steals, doesn't get assists, and you've got the kind of highlights too where he's just kind of, loafing up and down the court, that's just not good enough. and it's just across the board that's not good enough. And I mean, you look at a guy like a Bashir Jihad, he was going after him quite a bit, and that's like I said, that's a problem. Arizona has to have guys in there that are playing really hard, and if they're not playing really hard, then there's no reason to have them out. There's no reason to really have them out there at that point. You got to be able to have him out there playing hard. If he's not playing hard, then what are we really doing here? So, and I can deal with a lot of things. One of my least favorite players ever here was Kylan Boswell. Now, Kylan Boswell was a big reason that I did not like Kylan Boswell is that Kylan Boswell was out partying. He was not taking things seriously. Trey Townsend doesn't play that hard. That's a big thing for me. I can deal with the guys that aren't good, but I can't deal with the lack of effort, and that's kind of where we're at. Tobe Awaka, say whatever you want about him, but Tobe Awaka is good, and not only is he good, he's also somebody that he plays hard, and I know what I'm going to get. But to me, that would be your rotation. You would go with, or you would not Trey Townsend. You would go with Henry Vasar, Carter Bryant, and Tobe Awaka, and you can give spot minutes here for. You want to get spot minutes here or there for somebody like Trey Townsend, cool. But overall, that's not really what I'm looking for, though. But you got to play Bryant if you're only going to have him for 1 year. Plus, the thing about it too, even if he gets beat defensively, he is so long, he is so angular that he's able to get right back into it. He's able to get right back into the move, and he's able to either block the shot, do a variety of different things, and he just reeks of somebody that is going to play in the NBA and is going to play in the NBA for quite a long time. So you got to get him out there. But this team, though, has really shown a remarkable toughness to it. And it's something that I don't know that we necessarily saw early on in the season. Well, as a matter of fact, we didn't see it early on in the season, but it's really kind of changed. It's really kind of changed the corner a little bit in that this team has, they've kind of molded together here. They've molded together, and they've really kind of become the team where you're like, okay. I mean, just look at these stats right here. I mean, you got Carter Bryant getting 10 rebounds. You got KJ Lewis getting 8 rebounds. KJ Lewis was 1 of 10 from the field, but guess what? He had 8 points. He had 8 rebounds, and he had 4 assists. He was doing some really good things. You got Caleb Love obviously doing his thing. Tobe Awaka didn't have a great game. But he was picked up by other people, Henry Vasar, by a Carter Bryant. That's just the kind of stuff that you want to see. And if you can continue to see that, then I think Arizona, like I said, I think you will be very, very happy with how this season goes. But Tommy Lloyd also is got to be in contention for the Big 12 Coach of the Year at this point. We're going to talk about that here in just a second because, again, I think it's Tommy Lloyd. Yep. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the Big 12 Coach of the Year. I think it's got to be Tommy Lloyd. I don't really know who else it would be because again, Arizona's 9-1. You got a tough part of the schedule coming up here, obviously, but you're 9-1, and this is a team that was not playing well. And not only were they not playing well, it looked like people were wondering, is this going to even a tournament team? He's rectified all of that. I think he's got to be the Conference Coach of the Year at this point. And I don't know who else would be. I don't know that you can make a case for pretty much anybody else. So to me, it's Tommy Lloyd. And again, it goes to show you too that with Tommy Lloyd, you know that you got a guy that a lot of times I think people are looking at it and they're like, well, this team just, Tommy Lloyd's teams don't get better throughout the season. Not only do they not get better, they don't really, they regress a little bit. They get kind of soft. It's been the exact opposite this year. This has been a guy that has really shown, I think, that he can adapt. And I didn't think there was any reason. I don't think there was any reason for for that not to, be the case. He's also young in his coaching career. People got to remember that. So take it for what it's worth. Now, we're going to talk a little bit of recruiting here. By the way, I'm going to go with my prediction. BYU, I think Arizona's going to win. I'm going to go Arizona 76, BYU 72. I think it's going to be a really close game. But I think Arizona is going to win that game. Now, let's talk a little Koa Peat. I don't want to be the guy, pulling the shear that, like, if a guy doesn't come to Arizona, I'm thinking to myself, oh, we didn't want him anyway. I am at this point, though. If Koa Peat goes to ASU, then I didn't want you anyway, man. I mean, again, and that's nothing personal towards the kid. Everybody's different. But if you watch that disaster with Bobby Hurley, how he coaches, how he goes about things, it's kind of embarrassing. He is he's a joke, and he is if you want to go there and play with him, cool. I don't know what else to say at that point. If you want to go to Houston or Baylor or whatever, I get all of those. I do not at all get ASU. That was just an absolute dumpster fire. Not only was that an absolute dumpster fire, what we're watching, that was something that was just. How do you look at that and say that's the guy that is best possible to advance my career? He just throws the ball out there. He just kind of rolls it out there and does what he does. So Arizona, like I said, and Koa Peat would have a monster impact at Arizona because he would be your starting power forward immediately. And, again, he's going to be a one-year player, but that's what you need. Arizona cannot go into a season again, in my opinion, with such a below the rim front court like it has this year. Now, again, it's good, but you have a much bigger margin for error if you have athletes, and if you have athletes, then again, makes things a little bit easier. That's what Arizona's got to do, though. I think Arizona is kind of at the point now where that you know what you're going to get. And Tommy Lloyd, I don't get like the thing that a lot of people I think are wondering is, why wouldn't Koa Peat want to go to Arizona? It's a player friendly system, and look how Tommy's used his power forwards too. He's used some. I mean, Azuolas Tubelis, he got everything out of. When the moments got big, Azuolas Tubelis just wasn't, really that dude. That's not Tommy's fault. Keyshawn Johnson, he turned into an NBA player. Keyshawn Johnson went from averaging 5 and 6 at San Diego State to becoming a guy that could be a 3-and-D player in the NBA. That's Tommy. Now Trey Townsend obviously isn't good, but at the end of the day, that's just a miseval. Koa Peat will come here, and if Koa Peat comes here, he's going to be great. And I think that this is a perfect one-stop shop for you. Again, with Houston, I get it. With Baylor, I get it. With all those other schools he was looking at, I get it. I can't get ASU. That would make no sense to me whatsoever because ASU and Bobby Hurley don't really do anything. Plus, I don't know that Bobby Hurley is going to even be there. That was, like I said, that was an epic meltdown, and I don't know that he's going to be able to recover from that one. We shall see, but I don't think that he's going to be able to recover from that. We will find that one out, though, obviously. But Koa would look really nice next to Henry next year. Obviously, you'd love to have Carter at the small forward, but if you don't, you could have KJ Lewis at that small forward position. Then you could have somebody like Jaden Bradley or whoever the case may be running the point, and you'll just have to kind of figure it out from there. We will see, though. But overall, though, things were really, really good for Arizona. 9-1. You start heading towards looking at that 4 seed, and if you can keep running off wins, if you can keep getting, keep running off wins, taking care of business, then think that maybe you're looking at a 3 or 4. But again, it's a game at a time. The Big 12, as we all know, is a gauntlet, and there's going to be games coming up that are going to be brutal for you. And again, looking at that Iowa State game, that one's going to be really, really tough. So we'll see how that plays out. But as always, though, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Again, we're going to be back with you breaking down everything, and then we're going to have a post-game show with a breaking down that BYU game as well. Again, if you're 10-1, There's a lot to like about that. So, on that note, though, you have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day, your team every day.